forgot it doesn't.
Doesn't have auto
I'm so
start.
used to just.
Oh, this is gonna be awful.
This is gonna be awesome.
Do you want to use my knee brace?
No.
Yep.
Yeah, use that cable. Is this cable throttle?
No.
It's electronic?
Well, it's an electric throttle that I've tuned to act like a cable throttle. So I've removed that rubber band leg, and I've also, mapped it a little differently.
Do I flash my lights to other Corvettes?
You gotta wave.
Hi?
You didn't wave at the Corvette
I flashed
guys.
at him. I flashed my lights. He probably thinks there's a cop or something.
You flashed your lights?
Yeah.
What lights? It's pop-up headlights.
Oh.
There's nothing to
I
flash.
pulled back. What did that do?
Nothing.
So why does it pull back? Oh, if they were up,
If they were up,
if
it
they
would
were
flash.
up, it would flash.
Jeez.
Alright, turn all the systems off for me.
Hell no.
Oh, come on. I put you in track mode.
This car is actually, I'll put you in track mode. Maybe. There we go. Alright. You're now in competitive. The GT350 has got sweet exhaust. But the one thing I would add, or in the Corvette's favor, is that the Corvette has a little bit more balance of noise. The Corvette, you get gear whine because there's no sound deadening in the car.
Yes.
Which I think is actually kind of cool.
I do like that, yeah.
As you wind the car out, you can hear gear whine.
You hear all the mechanical, everything.
Yep, you can hear the mechanical intake noise, and you can also hear the exhaust. All three are balanced really nicely with the stock titanium exhaust. Oh god, we're gonna die.
Oh, it sounds awesome. I like the exhaust note of Corvettes. We gotta check it, but the steering feels not as quick in this car.
No, I agree that it doesn't feel as quick, and that's why I know is because I compared it to my Mustang steering, thinking that the Mustang steering was going to be a lot faster, but the ratio is about the same.
It feels great. The steering is so heavy. Honestly, I wish it was a little bit lighter. I think this would wear me out on track.
You say that until you start to slide the car.
And then
When you're sliding the car, heavy steering is so confidence-inspiring when it's skidding, and it just, that's the best part of this car compared to like the Mustang or any electronic steering I've driven on track, is when the car starts to skid, you know exactly what the car is doing at the front end. Yeah.
Alright, can I do a first gear roll on?
Sure.
Oh, it sounds so good.
It does, like the combination of noises is really good.
Because, yeah, it has like you almost hear the suction from the intake.
No, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You hear intake noise, transmission whine, and exhaust, and they're all at about the same level. Like,
intake,
I love the exhaust
gear,
noise.
and exhaust, yeah.
I love the exhaust noise on your car, but the combination of noises here is cool, because first you hear the inlet when you roll into the throttle.
Yes.
As the revs come up, you hear the exhaust, and then you hear the gear whine, and it just,
In the GT350, you actually hear more intake. Like in the Boss, zero intake noise, nothing.
Yeah.
You heard nothing. Like in your GT, do you hear any intake noise?
No, because I took the intake plumbing off that thing.
But in the GT350, you do hear.
You hear some intake noise.
Yeah, you hear intake noise. You hear the runners. You hear the valve. You hear a little bit of the valve train. You know, you hear some mechanical engine noises, but you don't hear anything in the drivetrain.
Just like any car, when you're looking to modify it, always look at what the OEM did to update it. So when GM finally updated this car after 8 years of production, the biggest thing they did was brakes. But this car is essentially stock, except that it's got the 13.5-inch front rotors and 13-inch rear rotors off a C6 Z51 with Carbotech pads. Tires. This is really a Z06 minus because the car should have 265, 295 tires, and the Goodyear Eagle F1 is what it originally came on, which actually, it's an alright handling tire. I mean, slow by today's standards.
Yeah.
And I've replaced that with the Bridgestone Potenza SO4 pole position, I think it's called. It's a 280 treadwear tire, not particularly aggressive. Handles amazing though.
Good,
the car,
good street track tire. Good tire you can take
it's a
to the
good
track.
all-around tire. It's not fast in any sense. It's 3 or 4 pounds heavier than the stock tires, even though they're a smaller diameter and a narrower width, which is kind of frustrating. But it does have great handling qualities. The tire rides nicely, and on track, they get really, really sharp turn in, and the car does these sweet four-wheel drifts. really, those are the only two modifications to it. I put bigger brakes on it, and I put smaller tires on it. And it is a fun to drive car because the power builds in a very linear fashion, all the way from the bottom to the top. It's got a lot of low-end torque.
Yeah.
That's something magical that's missing in the Mustangs. And that goes for all of them. The Boss 302, my GT, your GT350, is they don't have that off-idle torque. Like right now at 1,500 RPMs, right? Like you hit the gas and the car goes. And that's because you got a big motor and a light car. And you can't replicate that with turbos, with fancy 4-cam engines that rev to the moon. And that's one of my favorite characteristics of a car, is that ability to just, especially when you're on twisty mountain roads like this, to just hit it and go.
It is a very linear power band, whereas in the GT350, it starts to build at 3,500, and it continues to increase. It's like just builds.
Yeah. So this goes all the way back to the base 5-liter. They say that it has continuously variable valve timing. You can't feel the steps, and that's total BS. Anybody who's driven one of those motors, go out there and floor it from 2,000 RPM, and you'll feel steps all the way up through the RPM band. LS motors, though, perfectly smooth power band, no surprises. And that's really nice on track, to always know exactly what power is available. And that's why I redid the throttle mapping on it, is I didn't like GM's way of smoothing out your throttle inputs. I prefer the car to do exactly what I ask it to with my right foot. And that's just me. It probably would be faster with GM's throttle smoothing back on there.
Russ, you're paying for dinner, so we're going somewhere nice.
Okay. Deal, but only because you let me drive your car for so much longer.